Hello guys, I am Vaishali Kikan from Vaishali's e-learning and we are discussing physics. Now we are moving on towards the next chapter, that is the forces and Newton's laws of motion. Here in this chapter we are going to talk in detail about what causes the force. We are going to talk about a new branch of physics, that is dynamics, which is dealing with the causes of the force. We are going to then talk about the three laws which were given by the Newton and which became really important to study about the mechanics. So let's start our discussion with the first concept, that is a force. Force is a push or a pull. Now the fundamental forces are divided into four types. We have basically four categories of the fundamental forces, that is gravitational force, electromagnetic force, strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force. The gravitational force is also known as the force of the gravity, and it is arising due to the attraction between all of the objects. So if I am an object, board is an object, we both have some attraction force in between us. This attraction force, it is very weak force, but this force which is attracting me and board, this is a gravitational force, and it would be there in any two objects in this universe, right? So gravitational force or force of gravity is an attraction force between all objects. Then comes the electromagnetic force. Electromagnetic force is the force caused by the electric charges. The electric charges, when they are present, they are going to cause a force which is called as the electromagnetic force. Then we have the strong nuclear force. Strong nuclear force hold proton and neutron together in the nucleus. We know in the atom, in the nucleus of the atom, we have protons and neutrons in a very compact area, and this proton and neutrons, all of the protons are positively charged, so they repel each other, like charges repel each other. So if I have, let's suppose, two protons in the nucleus, this is the nucleus, here we have two protons, so these two protons are actually repelling each other. So we must have a very strong force which is binding these two protons together in the nucleus along with the neutrons. So this strong force is a strong nuclear force. Then we have a weak nuclear force. So weak nuclear force is responsible for the interaction involving elementary particles. Like if I have the interaction between the proton and the neutron, in interaction in between proton and neutron, we have the weak nuclear forces. So now let's talk in detail about them. So first is the gravitational force. Its relative strength, if I am taking the relative strength of the gravitational force to be 1, I will be comparing all of the other force in comparison to the gravitational force. So I took the relative strength of the gravitational force to be 1. It is having range to be infinity. The maximum gravitational force can be infinity. There is no upper limit to the gravitational force. It affects having the attraction part only. So it will be affecting any two objects with the attraction only. There would be no repulsion when I am talking about the gravitational force. Then we have the electromagnetic force. Electromagnetic force is having the relative strength 10 raised to power 36 in comparison to the gravitational force. Its range again is infinity. The maximum electromagnetic force could be infinity. It can be of both types, attraction as well as repulsion force. Then comes the strong nuclear force. It is having the relative strength 10 raised to power 38. So you can see the strong nuclear force is having magnitude much more than the electromagnetic force. It is 100 times more than the electromagnetic force, but it is having range less than 10 raised to power minus 15 meter. So if I have two objects which are in the 10 raised to power minus 15 meter only, then only these forces will be observed, right? So if the distance between the two objects become more than this, then the strong nuclear force will not be exhibited. Other than that, if I talk about the electromagnetic and the gravitational force, if the two bodies are at any distance apart, they are at infinite distance apart also, then also the electromagnetic and the gravitational force will work. Then comes the weak nuclear force. It is having the relative strength 10 raised to power 25. It is applicable when the range is in between 10 raised to power minus 18. It is lesser than 10 raised to power minus 18 meters. So when the proton and neutrons are very close apart, 10 raised to power minus 18 meter up close, so then the weak nuclear force will appear. Both strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force have both of the types, attraction as well as repulsion. Now coming to the next types of the force, first is the normal force. The normal force is a force perpendicular to the surface of object in contact. So if I have an object, so if I have another object in this context, so a perpendicular force will be arising in these two objects. So this is the normal force Fn. Then we have the frictional force. Frictional force is present when I have two objects in contact, right? So these two objects, you can see this is the object 1, this is the object 2, these are in contact, and thus frictional force will arise over here, and it is parallel to the contact surface. So here it will be parallel over here. This is the contact surface frictional force I am representing with small f. It is parallel to the contact surface. Then I have the tension force. Tension force is exerted by the strings, ropes, fibers as well as cables. So if I have any object which is attached to the string, so in, let's suppose this is a mass m which is attached to the string, so over here in this string we will be having some tension force, right? So after that string we have ropes, fibers and cables. Also in ropes, fiber and cable also we will be having the tension force. Now coming to the system diagram and the free body diagram. The system diagram will be having the sketch of all objects which are involved in a situation. So in the situation, if I have any object and if I am representing all of the objects as it is in the situation, apple is drawn like an apple, table is drawn like a table. So this is a system diagram. In the free body diagram, what I am going to do, I am going to make the object as a dot. I am going to represent the object as a dot, and I am going to represent all of the forces acting on this dot. So free body diagram is also represented as FBD. It is drawing in which only the object being analyzed is drawn with arrows showing all of the forces acting on the object. So here you can represent either the object with a dot, or you can represent the same object as it is, but you can have the various forces acting on it. So you must not forget to mention all of the forces. So here you can see, here we have represented the force. Here we can have force of gravity also. So this is a free body diagram when I have represented this object with all of the forces. So I can represent this object as a dot also. So this is Fn, this is Fg, and if this is my frictional force. So this is how we can have the free body diagram. Now coming to the dynamics. Dynamics is the study of cause of the motion. Why we have this motion? The cause of the motion is studied in the dynamics. Now the first cause of motion, the first effort in the analyzing the cause of the motion was done by the Galileo. So Galileo's virtual experiment, you can see in the figure we have the Galileo's virtual experiment. So here you can see the part A shows the ascending ramp has a steep slope. When the ascending ramp has a steep slope, descending ramp was taken to be fixed. Only I am changing the ascending ramp slope. So when the ascending ramp has a steep slope, then the same height was attained by the ball when it was released. So when the ball was released, you can see in the figure also, after ascending in the slope which is steep, then also the ball is moving to the same height and then it is stopping. In the horizontal part, we will be not be having any acceleration to the ball. Ball will be moving with a constant velocity. When the ball is descending down the slope, its acceleration is increasing. When the ball is ascending up the slope, its acceleration is decreasing, and it will reach a maximum value which is the exactly same as the height from where it was released, and then the acceleration will zero, the kinetic energy will zero, ball will stop and it will again go back, right? So you can see the part B here, the ascending ramp has a low slope. When the low slope is there, then also the ball will reach to the same height from where it has started. So you can see the third part C over here. When the ascending ramp is removed, ball here continues without stopping till infinity. We are assuming that there is no frictional force, there is nothing which is obstructing the motion of the ball. So there is no force in the opposite direction to the motion of the ball. So now ball will try to attain the same height, but it will never get the same height because we have a horizontal surface only. We are not having any ascending part, so ball will keep on moving forever, right? So now this property, it was explained with the help of the inertia property. Inertia is the property of the matter that causes a body to resist change in its state of motion. When the body is not changing its state of motion, so body in the motion, it will try to be in motion only. This property is called as inertia, and based upon that Newton's first law of motion was derived. So according to the Newton's first law of motion, if the net force acting on an object is zero, the object will maintain its state of rest or the continuous motion. The body will not be accelerating if the net force on the body is zero. So this is the crux of the Newton's first law. There are some implications of the Newton's first law of motion, like the first implication is that an external force is required to change the velocity of an object. If the external force is not there, the object will be keep on moving with the same velocity. It will not change the velocity, right? If I want to change the velocity or if I want to have the acceleration in the motion, I have to supply some external force. Internal force have no effect on the object's motion. If I have some internal force, it will not change the object's motion. So the next implication is that to cause a change in the velocity, the net force on object must not be zero. So if I want to change the velocity, the net force should not be zero. There must be some net force. Object at rest will remain at rest until acted upon by a net external force greater than zero. If I am supplying some net external force greater than zero, then only the object at rest will continue in motion. Other than that, if the net external force is zero, object at rest will be remaining at rest. The moving object continue to move in the straight line at a constant speed. So velocity will be constant. If the moving object is there, its velocity would be constant if there is no net external force. So if there is no net external force, moving object will continue to be moving in the same direction with the same speed. So you can see the figure here. We have the example of the first law of Newton's motion. So now Newton's first law is applied over here. You can see the part A where we have the seats in the older car design. In the older car design, we were not having the support for the head. So there was no support for the head, and due to which the neck injuries were difficult to avoid in the older designs of the car. As soon as the person was making a brake, it was making a sharp turn, and that time there was no support to the head, and the head was moving so that the head was remaining in the continuous state of motion. As suddenly you are putting a brake, head tries to be in the state of motion, and there is no support to it, and the person will be having some injury, and this was difficult to avoid in the older car designs. You can see the part B of this figure. You can see the current seat design. It includes a headrest also. So if the head is moving, the neck and body will be moving together. The headrest keeps the head, neck and body to be moving together, thus reducing the chances of whiplash, right? So the injuries were avoided with the newer car designs, and this is how technology is at having an advantages in our lives, right? So the Newton's first law was beneficial for us in the latest car designs, you can see from the figure. So now results from the Newton's first law, the summary of the Newton's first law. First, the object at rest tend to remain at rest. If the object is at rest, it will try to remain at rest. If the object is in motion, it will tend to remain in motion. The velocity of an object will be constant if there is no net external force which is acting on it. If the external force acting on the body is zero, the velocity of an object would be constant. So now the fourth and the final result is that velocity of an object which will be changing in either magnitude or direction or both. If the velocity is changing in magnitude, you can see the velocity is changing in direction, or both magnitude and direction both are changing, then you must conclude that there must be some external force which is acting on the object. The net force acting on the object is represented as F net, and it is the vector summation of all of the forces acting on the object. So if I have a lot of forces acting on the object, if I want to find out the net force acting on the object, I have to do the vector addition. Coming to the Newton's second law of motion. According to the Newton's second law of motion, net external force on an object will not be zero, then the object will accelerate in the direction of the net force. Now here I consider the possibility that the net external force on the object is not equal to zero, and in this case the body will be moving in the direction of the net force. If the net force is in this direction, the movement of the body will be in this direction only. So acceleration is directly proportional to the net force, and acceleration is inversely proportional to the mass of the object. If I combine these two, acceleration is directly proportional to F net when I am taking the mass to be constant, and acceleration is inversely proportional to the mass when I am taking F net to be constant. Combining two, acceleration is proportional to the F net upon m. If I want to remove the proportionality sign, acceleration will be k F net upon m. Acceleration is equal to F net upon m when I found out with the experimental condition that the value of k is 1. Acceleration is F net upon m, or I can represent the net force is equal to mass into acceleration of an object. This is the Newton's second law of motion, and this law of motion is applied in a lot of sample problems which we are going to discuss later on. Now coming to the Newton's third law of motion. According to the Newton's third law of motion, for every action force there is a reaction force which is equal in magnitude but opposite in direction. For example, if I have a swimming person, the swimming person will be having his his arms and legs exerting an action force backward against the water. We are making our arms and legs to make the backward force on the waters, and this water will exert the reaction force in forward direction, and that is how the person arm and legs are moving in the forward direction, and his body or full person is pushed in the forward direction. This is how one person is swimming. If you are pushing the water backward, water is pushing you forward, right? So Newton's third law will always involve two objects. Like here we had a person, swimmer, as well as water. So always and always for application of the Newton's third law, we will be having two objects. So other examples where the Newton's third law is applicable is person walking, car accelerating, and a rocket blasting off in space. So these are the various examples. You can see we have two objects over here. In the first case, person is walking. So the first case we have two objects, person and the ground. So when the person is pushing ground backward, ground is pushing person forward. So car accelerating, when the car is accelerating, car is pushing the ground backward, so ground is pushing car in the front direction. Similarly rocket when it is blasting off in space, rocket is pushing with the help of the air which is coming out of it. It is pushing earth in the downward direction. On the other hand, earth is pushing it in the upward direction, and this is how rocket will move up in the space. And now we will move on towards the sample problems. So let's discuss the overview of this chapter, the crux of this chapter. So let's start with the discussion of the system diagram and the free body diagram. In the system diagram, we make the actual representation of the objects, right? So here we have an object and we have the fish connected to the object, and this is my system diagram. Now here I have taken a representation of the fish, and now here I have represented the various forces. The tension force is in the upward direction, in the north direction, and the gravitational force is acting on the fish in the downward direction, and this is the free body diagram. Now again here we have a hand, on the hand we have a ball, and this is the system diagram, right? So we have the actual objects. Now here we will be having the representation of the object. This is my ball, and on the ball we will be having a normal force which is acting due to the hand upside, right? And we will be having a gravitational force which is acting on the ball in the downward direction. Now here again we have a book. On the book we have placed a hand and we are moving the book in the front direction. So when we are moving the book is placed on a table. So due to the table we will be having a normal force, right? And due to the gravity we will be having a downward force Fg. Now because we are pushing the book, so we will be having applied force Fa, and then because the table is applying some frictional force on the book, we will be having the Ff as well. So I hope you understood both of them. So now coming to the question, problem states a weightlifter holds a weight above his head by exerting a force of 1.6 Newton in upward direction. The force of gravity acting on the weight is same, which is 1.6. Now the direction is downward. Draw a system diagram and the free body diagram of the weight and state the net force on the weight at that instant. So we have talked about the system diagram and the free body diagram. In the system diagram we make the actual weightlifter and the actual weight, right? But here we have taken a symbolic representation of the weight. Because of the weightlifter we will be having a normal force Fn, right, in the upward direction. This is my Fn, and this object will be having a gravitational force in the downward direction which is represented as Fg. This is in upward direction and this is in downward direction. Now what is F net? The total force will be Fn plus Fg because only these two forces are acting on it. So what is Fn? Fn is 1.6 Newton in upward direction, and Fg is again 1.6 Newton in downward direction. So the both of the forces are same but in opposite direction. They will cancel out each other and the net force will be equal to 0. Right, coming to the next question. As an arrow leaves a bow, the string exerts a force of 180 Newton in the forward direction on the arrow. Draw a free body diagram of the arrow. As the string is applied force on it, neglect the vertical forces, that is the force due to the gravitation on the arrow, which is very small that it will not show in the diagram. So this is my system diagram. In the system diagram, we have represent the arrow, the bow, and the person who's lifting the arrow and the bow, right? So this is how we will be having the system diagram with the actual person. Now we have represented the arrow and we have neglected the gravitational forces. So gravitational force is very small, we neglected. So only the force which is the person is applying on the arrow is the force which is present, so the applied force is there. So this is the free body diagram. So what is the F net? F net is equal to Fa, which is equal to 180 Newton. So what is the direction? The direction is forward. So this is the net force on the arrow. So now coming to the Newton's second law of motion. According to the Newton's second law of motion, if the net external force on an object is not zero, like here the F net was not zero, so what will happen? This arrow will move, it will have some acceleration. In this case, because the net force was zero, this weight is not going to move. So if the net external force on an object is not zero, the object accelerates in the direction of net force. So direction will be the same here where we are applying the force, right? And the magnitude of the acceleration is proportional to the magnitude of the force. If I apply more force, the acceleration would be high, and it is inversely proportional to the object's mass. If I apply force on an object of higher mass, I will be having lesser acceleration. So I hope you understood this. Now coming to the next question. A net force of 58 Newton in west is applied to the water polo ball of mass 0.45 kg. Calculate the ball's acceleration. We need to find out the acceleration, and according to the second law of motion, we have F net is equal to mass into acceleration, right? Or I can represent acceleration is proportional to the F net, or it is inversely proportional to the mass. And if I remove this proportional sign, I will be taking the proportionality constant equal to 1, right? So I hope you understood this thing. Now coming to the various things that are present, we need to find out the acceleration. So we know what is F net, which is 58 Newton in the west. We know what is mass, it is 0.45 kg. So we have the mass, and when you divide it, you will be calculating 1.3 into 10 raised to power 2 meter per second square in west, right? Direction would be same. Now coming to the next question. In an extreme test of its braking system under ideal road condition, a Toyota Celia traveling initially at 26.9 meter per second. So initial velocity is given 26.9 meter per second in south, comes to stop. So when it stops, the final velocity becomes 0, and we will be having 0 meter per second in south. So now time is given 2.61 second. The mass of car with the driver is given 1.18 into 10 raised to power 3. Now we have to calculate the car's acceleration and the net force required to cause that acceleration. We know the formula of acceleration. It is V final minus V initial upon delta t. What is V final? It is 0 minus V initial is 26.9 meter per second in south divided by delta t, which is 2.61. So it will come out to be equal to minus 26.9 meter per second upon, here we will be having second, 2.61 second in south. So when you divide it, you will be coming out to be equal to 10.3 meter per second square. So it will be having minus sign in south. So now how I can represent it? The minus of south can be represented as positive of north. So it can be represented as 10.3 meter per second square in north direction. Right, so I hope you understood how I calculated the acceleration. Now coming to the question number B, now we have to find out the F net, and according to the Newton's second law of motion, F net is equal to mass into acceleration. Now we have calculated the acceleration. Mass is given, so mass is 1.18 into 10 raised to power 3. It is multiplied with the acceleration 10.3 in north. So now Fnet is a mass into acceleration. Mass is already given in the kg. So now we just need to multiply it. When you multiply 1.18 into 10 raised to power 3 with 10.3, you will be getting 1.22 into 10 raised to power 4 Newton in north direction, right? So now coming to the Newton's third law of motion. What is the Newton's third law of motion? For every action force, there is a reaction force which is equal in magnitude but opposite in direction. So if I apply a force on any object, the object is going to apply the same force on me but in opposite direction. So every force has an equal and opposite reaction. So now here this is the object, and the next question states, draw the free body diagram of ball in figure when it is still pushed by the spring. So here in the cart we have a spring. So ball is inside the cart, and when it is still inside the cart, we need to make a free body diagram of the ball. So now when ball is inside the cart, it will be having some normal force due to the cart, and because ball is having mass, it will be having a gravitational force. So we will be having normal force, we will be having gravitational force. Now because spring is exerting some applied force in the forward direction, so there would be some force due to the spring also, because here we are not making the force of the cart also. So here we will not be having action reaction pair. For action reaction pair, we have to take in consideration both of the object, because here we are just considering the ball, we will not be having the action reaction pair. I hope you understood all of the things that I have discussed in this video, and I hope you are going to meet me soon in the next class. If you have still not downloaded our mobile app, it is highly recommended. Please download the mobile app, and you can visit us on our different platforms as well. We are working on LinkedIn as well as Instagram. You can connect with us on these two platforms as well, apart from YouTube. I hope you have already subscribed us on the channel YouTube Vaishali's E-Learning. Thank you so much.